Oh, Lord.
9 Shrek games on one console? What kind of timeline is this? The only way that this could be done is through the power of the Game Boy Advance. If you were a kid in the 2000s, you knew that the GBA had everyone on their hit list. Just thinking about the GBA brings me back to my youth. When I should have been outside getting stabbed by rocks on a slip and slide, I instead was playing what I thought were some of the best games ever made. And once my frontal cortex developed, it occurred to me that these mind-bending games were just Nicktoons Freeze Frame Frenzy and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Yeah, this was definitely a weird time for gaming, but what always stood out to me was that I was playing these games on a green and orange Game Boy Advance SP, the handheld that most people, including me, refer to as the Shrek Game Boy. Unfortunately, I soon discovered that this is just a limited edition variant that has no correlation to the Shrek franchise. But instead of questioning my childhood, I thought it'd be a good idea to take a look at Shrek's one-of-a-kind footprint on this one-of-a-kind console. And that's what I'm talking about today. Let's begin with 2001's Shrek Fairy Tale Freakdown. This is not just his first Game Boy game, but literally the first Shrek game ever. This game was published by the now-defunct TDK Mediactive, known for their work on The Land Before Time Math Adventure for PC, and developed by Prolific, known for making aquatic screensavers for Apple and Android devices. And after playing this all started to make a lot more sense. While the box art may have had me thinking that this game is filled with non-stop fun, I then remembered that I'm playing a licensed fighting game on the Game Boy Color. I mean, do I need to say anything? This game is widely considered one of the worst fighting games of all time, so does it really need any further abuse? The controls don't work, the sprite work makes me gag, the password system is abysmal, and the hit detection is about as fun as it gets. The only thing I do like here is that this game does not discriminate in size, because your opponents can range from fighting Gingy on candy cane stilts to the goddamn dragon that's locked in the castle. The fact that I forced myself to beat this game should have me end up like this guy on the front of the box, and honestly, anything sounds better than this. Let's see if we can turn things around with Shrek Swamp Kart Speedway, the first of many Shrek GBA games. The sad thing here is that I put more work into that corny ass segue than the developers did in making this game, because this is one pixel away from getting a Nintendo lawsuit. Honestly, this game would be a cult classic if it came with a sample pack of Tylenol. This game has a severe problem when you touch anything outside of the track itself. Even when you're not trying to break the game does it for you. Now, it does say that each character has their own unique racing style, but you really can't tell when playing. In fact, I can't tell what's happening at all. Not to mention, each map is about as creative as a Mr. Beast clone. Copy and paste is this game's specialty.
Ogres are like onions.
Hope you have room for thirds, because here comes another masterpiece published by TDK Mediactive, this time with 2002's Shrek Hassle at the Castle. While this is definitely a side-scrolling beat-em-up, don't expect much in the combat department here. You do get to play as either Shrek, Fiona, or Donkey, but each character only has one specific move. And you'll soon realize that Donkey is the weakest fighter of the bunch, and you don't get to play as Fiona until the last 5 minutes of the game. Realistically, you're only playing as Shrek. And oh my god, the platforming here is not suitable for this ogre's rotund figure. Jumping as Shrek needs to be accompanied by a prayer, and this level, right here, was the biggest bitch of this entire video. This part of the game is where you're escaping the castle after saving Princess Fiona. But the problem is that the dragon is always behind you. Even when you swing on these chains like George of the Jungle, the dragon does not care. He will fuck you up. I'm just now realizing that Shrek's face looks nothing like Shrek. If anything, he looks like Polly Walnuts from The Sopranos, and now that's all I can think of.
You're a wormy cocksucker, you know that?
No! Oh, Lord.
But after nearly popping a blood vessel, I soon realized that this game has the most accurate telling of the first Shrek film on Game Boy hardware. Which, hey, if that's what you're here for, look no further. Well, at least this is the last Shrek game published by TDK Mediactive. The problem is that they couldn't walk away without giving us another stinker with 2003's Shrek Recon Havoc. I guess there was an office fire because this game completely ditches the script entirely, and instead the developers created a non-canon story about how Lord Farquaad has risen from the dead and soon possesses all fairy tale creatures. Anything to make a quick buck, I guess. The refreshing side of things is that there's barely any platforming. Most of the time you get to play as Fiona, and she can now do 3-hit combos as well as sliding attacks. Whoa, slow down there game, you might actually make me have fun. But I don't know if I'm a real fan of this new Shrek universe. When playing this game, you really can't help but question what the fuck is going on in this silly ass world. Like, why does this bee have a strap-on stinger? Why am I beating up this cute fuzzy bear? And why am I throwing boxes at this guy's belly button? And why is it looking at me like that? This game feels like a fever dream. I really don't know how to describe the soundtrack, but it makes the game feel extremely dated. Some of these tracks sound like they got ripped straight out of a Tony Hawk skating montage. I'm usually not one to ask a lot of questions, but this game left me in a trance. While a bit too quirky for my taste, with more combat and level variety, this game is definitely better than its predecessor.
Really tall?
No!
We finally made it to our first Shrek movie tie-in game with 2004's Shrek II. This game was developed by a company called Vicarious Visions, known for their work on Diablo 4 and Over the Hedge Hammy Goes Nuts. Let me explain. Vicarious Visions was bought by Activision in 2005, and most recently merged with its sister company, Blizzard Entertainment, and is now named Blizzard Albany. But back in the day, Vicarious Visions was known for making a handful of licensed games, including this one. Apparently Shrek II for GBA came with a buy one get one free coupon to Baskin Robbins. Yeah, I have nothing to add to this, I just wanted to mention it. But with the puzzle solving being the real dessert here, you now get to swap between multiple characters seen throughout the film, with each character having their own unique abilities. It's nice to finally use the word creative to describe a Shrek game. This game feels like there's at least some sort of heart and soul attached to it, not just some lousy knockoff of an already successful franchise. And no, I'm not looking at Shrek 2 for GBA with rose-colored glasses either. This game definitely has its flaws. Unless you're fucking blind, it becomes pretty apparent that the combat was not at the top of the priority list, and the platforming requires way too much precision, and got me fuming in a matter of minutes. And oh my god, is this boss fight terrible. You get to play as human Shrek in the latter half of the game, who has a sword, but by the end, you get turned back to normal. So all you do is just dodge the fairy godmother's magic for 45 seconds straight. I just wasted 3 hours for this? Really? Oh shit! Well, it seems to me that Fiona has jaundice. What a great way to end a game, diagnosing illness. Well, the good news is that we're halfway done with the lineup. The bad news is, outside of the expired Sundays, this is the best Shrek game out of the bunch. And the next one definitely proves that. I guess someone at Vicarious Visions realized that the best part of Shrek 2 for GBA were the Puss in Boots missions, so they decided to make a spin-off with 2004's Shrek 2 Beg for Mercy. Yeah, beg for mercy. The only thing I'm begging for is some fucking creativity. The game's plot is all about Puss's origin story, and follows him on his journey to accept the bounty of killing Shrek. The only real positive here is Puss's new moveset, which is just a 3-hit combo. But at least it's something, I'll take anything at this point. There's about 20 levels to play here, with almost all of them having little to no substance, that come alongside these tux paint doodles that act as cutscenes. And this all starts to make sense when you realize that the game was released only 6 months after the previous GBA game. The story takes a turn with Puss thinking that Shrek and Donkey died after they drank the happily ever after potion, so he sets out for vengeance. But it just leads him to beat up 2 bald guys. And that's it. While it tries to make Puss the leading man, due to the game mainly feeling rushed, it ends up playing like a severely watered down version of Shrek 2 for GBA. And that's really all it is. We've officially gone full circle with 2005 Shrek Super Slam. This game was developed by the now defunct Amaze Entertainment, known for Call of Duty Roads to Victory and Ice Age 2 What the fuck am I reading? The story in this game is really not important here. The only thing you need to know is that it's Smash Bros with Shrek characters. I'd probably understand it better if these renders weren't etched into my nightmares, and the gameplay isn't waking me out of my coma either. When you hop into your first match, a good 10 minutes is going to be spent on figuring out which button does what, and another 10 is going to be spent trying to figure out, where the hell is everyone? Literally, what is going on? The knockback in this game is ridiculous. Anytime you max out your slam meter, your opponent will just fly to the other side of the map, leaving you lost on what even just happened in the first place. But yeah, I really don't have much to say here. This port of Super Slam gets the job done for what the GBA can handle. If your lifelong dream is to see Puss in Boots swing the hammer from Thor, out of all things, or to see that same cat get kicked out a fucking window, then this game is for you. But outside of that, the only thing I'm super slamming is this game and the goddamn dump.
Here we go!
It's November 14th, 2006, and Sonic the Hedgehog just got his name slapped on one of the worst video games of all time. And not even 24 hours later, Shrek said, okay, what the fuck is this? Just when I thought I'd seen it all, a developer by the name of Taurus Games whipped up what is easily the most putrid creation on Shrek's Game Boy resume, and possibly in all of his video game career: Shrek Smash and Crash Racing. Nothing about this game works. The visuals, the controls, the speed. My god, I didn't know it was life or death. Can we slow it down a bit? I mean, you can if you want, but this bundle of Grinch pubes can't make up its mind. It's either go or no go. And this camera ain't doing the game justice either. I can't decide what this angle reminds me of more, the Indy 500 or the OJ police chase. The most mind-bending thing about this mess is that the developer that I mentioned earlier, Taurus Games, is the only developer that is still around today. And what do they do now? You know what? Good for them. I almost thought that making a Shrek GBA game was really just a down payment on a coffin. And speaking of which, this brings us to our last, but not least, Shrek GBA game.
Well, somebody better be dying.
I'll tell you what, Vicarious Visions did a great job of putting Shrek's Game Boy career to rest with 2007 Shrek the Third, based on the critically panned third installment in the Shrek franchise. This port feels like nothing but a box to check off, lacking any sort of ingenuity whatsoever. The story starts at the part of the film where Artie, played by pop superstar Justin Timberlake, I completely forgot this happened, are we serious? Takes control of the ship and crashes the crew on a deserted island. Well, not really deserted, because there are also animals from other DreamWorks IPs here too. For some reason. You eventually meet up with a geriatric that looks like the guy from Wizard 101, who warps you to far, far away to dethrone Prince Charming and save the day. The best thing about this game is that the characters don't talk. That is the highlight of this dumpster fire, not hearing anyone complain. If you've ever seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. But in this game, they all just work together to solve puzzles, similar to both Shrek 2 and Shrek 2 Beg for Mercy. But imagine both of those games put together, and then taking about 1,000 steps backwards. Now you've got Shrek the Third. Puss is back to his boring-ass Shrek II GBA model, with none of the moveset that made him stand out in Beg for Mercy. So what was the point of this? Artie, the new character, has one of the most depressing attacks in all of video games. His weapon of choice is a throwable shield with an automatic return. You can imagine how fun this is. And another new thing is that you can collect different sets of items to unlock player upgrades. Too bad there's no reason to have them, since there's no point in this game where these upgrades are needed, making them pointless to begin with. At this point, what could be worse than this? Shrek poisoning children?
Here's what they look like. McDonald's says do not use them. The paint contains the toxic metal cadmium.
Oh, I almost forgot. The boss fight, while better than previous games, is about as much fun as an ingrown toenail. You punch Prince Charming as Shrek, and then play as Artie to drop a sandbag on his skull. Do that more times than needed, and there you go. It's unfortunate to see Shrek get treated the way he did on Game Boy hardware. Most, if not all, these games feel like cash grabs that really spit in the face of the consumer. But this is to be expected in a franchise like Shrek, which was rolling in the dough for a decade straight. It's fun to look back and see how many of these games were made, but actually playing them is best to be left in the past.